Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Today, we have the privilege of hosting a remarkable individual whose expertise in the realm of visa and immigration is truly unparalleled. So, before we welcome our guest today, I really wanted to tell you a little bit about her. Yvette Bansal, a former US Consular Officer and US diplomat with the Department of the State, joins us today. And she has conducted over 40,000 visa interviews. She even offers a unique perspective on the visa interview process. So, friends out there, it's going to be very exciting today because she's going to join us. And so, please help me extend this warm welcome to our esteemed guest today, Yvette Bansal. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you so much for that very warm introduction that I don't deserve, but thank you so much.
No, you do. Thank you so much for doing this. It's truly an honor to have you here today. And Yvette, for viewers out there who have joined us for the first time today, would you like to tell them a little bit about yourself also?
I'm a former consular officer. I worked at US Embassy New Delhi and Consulate General Mumbai for about 5 years. I transitioned from that role into my own consultancy where I help visa applicants, people who want to apply for a US visa, prepare for their visa interview because I saw a lot of applicants make some common mistakes and a lot of people needed some guidance on how to best prepare for their visa interview. So that is what I'm currently doing. And I do talk shows like this to also educate people on some common questions that we receive.
Absolutely. It's a great pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you so much. And on behalf of our audience and myself, I extend a warm welcome back to you, to this show. So thank you so much. I'm really very happy to finally meet you, even though if it's virtually. So looking forward for a great session today. And yeah, so today's um, topic is get your B1 visa approved. And yes, this masterclass with none other than ex-US visa consular officer. So, what can people expect from us today in this episode?
So, having adjudicated in India, I got to see a lot of people going for business travel at the visa window. So, what you can expect from this is what is a B1 visa? What's the criteria? How do you get a B1 visa at the interview window? Some considerations, how to prepare your documents, what questions to expect, and if we have time, what's a B1 in lieu of an H1B, which is a very nuanced visa category that most people have
Mhm.
never heard of or seen. So that is what they can expect today.
All right, we'll look
Hello?
forward for this whole episode today, friends, and truly it's going to be very exciting. Yes, thank you so much. So, folks out there, be with us wherever you have joined us from, whether on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. It's going to be a great, enlightening session today. So, without further ado, let's dive into the topic. And my first question to you is, what is a B1 visa? And who should apply? What activities are permitted under B1 visa? And if you can explain the primary criteria.
So, visitor visas are non immigrant visas for people who want to enter the United States temporarily. Generally, it's for B1, business related activities, or B2 for tourism or pleasure. Usually, this visa class is given together as a B1, B2, which a lot of people are confused. Can I do B1? Can I do B2? Usually, 99% of the time, the officer will give you a B1, B2 visa. And the reason is the basic criteria for a B1 or B2 is the same. So, you want to have a residence in a foreign country, which you prove to the consular officer you will not abandon. You intend to enter the United States for a period of time, a limited duration, in which you have to explain what you're going to be doing. And you seek to engage in legitimate activities. So, whether it's a B2 for tourism or a B1 for conferences, you have to prove to the consular officer that you will be doing the intended activity. So I hope I explained why it's generally given together and generally given as a full validity 10-year visa. Now, the interview questions are going to differ and the intended activities are going to differ and be questioned, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that is the basic criteria. Does that make, I hope, does that make sense?
It does, it does, it does. Thank you so much for answering that. And folks out there, be with us today. And today is going to be everything about B1 visa. So I hope that whatever questions you have for us today is going to be related only to the topic. It's B1 visa. All right. So, Yvette, I have another question. And before that, do we have anything else from our team? All right. So, what activities are permitted under a B1 visa? Can I attend conferences or seminars?
Yes, you can. So activities that are not permitted are what officers can will consider productive work. All the activities that are permitted, you should think of them as incidental parts of the functional work that is going to be occurring in the foreign country that you work at. So conferences, that's supplemental. Trainings, those are okay. You can negotiate contracts in the United States. You can litigate. You can consult business associates. You can participate in business conventions, professional, educational, scientific seminar or conferences. You can take independent research. You can go and do a training for your team or participate in a training. Those are all incidental activities to your work and not your primary work duties. So when you're talking to a consular officer, the first thing they're going to try to adjudicate is that primary criteria of B1, B2. Do you qualify for a B1, B2? Do you qualify based on your home ties being strong, your ability to financially support yourself might be looked at, your family ties might be looked at. And then as you're speaking to the consular officer, they're going to be looking at what type of work you do, your occupation, how long you stayed, and match it up with some of the permitted activities that we have discussed are permissible under the B1 visa, which are incidental to your primary work duties. Yeah?
Yeah, okay. And can someone come on a B1 and go for sightseeing? That would be B2, right? If the entry is on B1 only and the I-94 is B1 only.
So unless you're going on a B1 in lieu of an H1B, this is exactly why B1, B2s are issued together. Because once you have that B1, B2, you can go sightseeing or go to a conference. There's no distinction. That basic criteria that we talked about
Mhm,
establishing ties and having legitimate
mhm.
activities will be covered under that B1, B2. So I used to have a boss that said to me, don't overcomplicate the B1 because it's a very stressful visa class to adjudicate. It has, for a consular officer, you're trying to ensure that they are not going to be doing skilled or unskilled labor in the United States. There's a lot of questions. And then you're also trying to determine ties. Do they have enough ties? So it's kind of a double adjudication in a way. So she told me you have to ensure that they qualify. If they were to come to you for a B1, B2 tourism visa, would they qualify? And if the answer is yes, then you could move on and try to adjudicate the unskilled and skilled labor portion of the adjudication. So that's how I approached it as a consular officer. Yeah.
Okay, but sometimes the entry is just a B1, no B2 at all. So, in those cases,
It doesn't generally happen. It's generally given together. And so it's that's kind of a rare. I mean, if you just have, I don't see, unless it's a B1 in lieu of an H1B, and at which point, I guess if you were to go, downtown while you're in a conference and, look at the bean in Chicago, I mean, I don't think anybody is going to really know that you did that, right? So it's generally given together. So I would just kind of try to focus
okay.
on that 99% of how it's issued.
Okay, but what about a B2 entry then? Just a B2 entry. I
It's
mean,
generally on the visa B1, B2. If you look at people's
Okay.
visa foil, it does not say. When people fill out the DS 160, they might do a drop down of B1 or B2, and that's a system thing. Once they actually get their visa foil, it is saying B1, B2 like 99% of the time.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for taking that up. Your insights have really hit the nail on the head, I guess. I mean, it's pretty much clear right now to folks out there. Let's move on, Yvette, to the next
Sure.
question I got for you.
Mm-hmm.
And what documents are needed for a B1 visa application? Any tips on organizing these documents?
Yes, definitely. So, what made a really great B1 business traveler for me as a consular officer was somebody who was able to talk very succinctly and clearly about their intended activities. So you're not able to do skilled or unskilled labor. You're not able to do core functions of your job. You have a very limited scope on what you can do. As I mentioned, trainings, conferences, meetings with associates, negotiations. So when somebody comes to the consulate or embassy, and they're at the window and they don't have any time frame for how long they're going to be doing those business activities, that's concerning, because if you're going to a conference, okay, my conference is from May 7th to May 9th. Then I'm going to go back for some stakeholder meetings. Or we have multiple offices in the United States. I plan on meeting with the CFO to discuss the financials. We're going to be there for a senior level meeting. So you're able to discuss very clearly exactly what you're doing. And in terms of documents, you should have an agenda. I know that some meetings may not have an agenda that far in advance, but you need to communicate with your stakeholders or employer in the United States and say, I need a detailed agenda, as detailed as you possibly can. Not every single minute of your day, but a day by day. So you need to be able to come to me and say, I'm going to the United States for 9 days, 15 days. The first 7 days, I have this brochure of the conference I'm attending in Las Vegas. And the second 5 days, I have this agenda of exactly who I'm meeting and the purpose of those meetings. So that is definitely the documentations that I'm going to be looking for if you're coming for business travel on a B1.
Thank you for shedding light on that matter. And well, thank you so much for all you folks also for joining us, wherever you joined us. Ankit Tyagi, Meena Michael, Fatum Hajara, Madhur Shah. Keep those questions coming. Atola, Neha Shetty, uh, Charan. Thank you so much. Stay with us. We are surely going to take up questions from you too a little later, though. Just stay with us. So, Yvette, moving on, based on your experience as a consular officer, would you ask for all the documents they bring in, like employment letters, tax returns, invitations, etc.?
That's actually a good point. As a consular officer, the agenda would really sell me, and the conference information would really sell me. But something to also have would be an employment letter from your employer about why you're going to be attending the conference or event in the US, or if it's more
Mhm.
appropriate, from the person hosting you in the United States. If it's from your employer, it should mention your title. It can mention your salary if you wanted to mention your salary. Tax returns are generally not necessary, but invitations, they're okay. That's pretty good to also have.
Yeah,
So those things are good supplemental things to have as well. Yes, thank you.
perfect. And how do you identify the legitimacy of the B1 applicant if just coming for some conference?
So first, I adjudicate them based on their ties to their home country and their finances. Is If I establish them as somebody who is decently established in their home country, then I move on to specific questions about the conference. Why are you going to this conference? Why is your employer funding you to go? What is your title? What is your position what does this conference, how does this conference relate to your job, and what is your income? And so I take in how long are you going to be in the United States, and so I take all those data points and I look at the person as a whole, at their profile, and say this makes sense. If I was an employer, I would also send this individual to a conference. Maybe he's new at the company and this is a knowledge based conference, and now he needs to also go for meetings after the conference and meet with some high level people. So maybe that would make sense if he was in a mid level position or a senior position. Now, if somebody comes to me and they're not in that position, they've worked at the company for a very long time, they've never traveled for work before, they're going
Mhm.
to a conference that does not align with their job duties, then I'm going to have some follow up questions and concerns. So it's that kind of overall picture that I look at in order to determine um, legitimacy. So conferences are easy, and then it gets a little bit trickier when they say they're going to do some trainings or stay a little bit longer at their office, and then that's a different set of
Mhm.
concerns that we can talk about if people have further questions.
Okay, but have you seen many applicants coming for a B1 visa just for the purpose of migrating to the US?
So you consular officers intend, you are an intending immigrant and until you tell the consular officer otherwise. So I can't tell you how many applicants are legitimate or not. But what I can tell you is there is a lot of applicants that were going on a B1 visa that I had serious concerns about doing skilled labor in the United States. Not necessarily they're going to immigrate or even change of status, but use that B visa as an H1B, which is not permissible in that category. So that is a bigger thing I saw and a bigger concern.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking that up as well, Yvette. And we will move on for sure to the next question. Um, well, how does one schedule a B1 visa interview and what's the average wait time?
A B1 interview is scheduled the same way that you would schedule a B1 B2 interview, and the way it is ustraveldocs.gov, filling out your DS 160 just like you would if you were going for a tourism B2 interview, because you can just feel free to select B1 B2 on that application, because that's essentially what the visa foil is going to say. In terms of wait time, it's going to be the same wait time as a B1 B2 interview based on your consulate or embassy and home country.
Okay, and if people are representing a company for business meetings, how do you validate?
The only way we validate is through that interview, which is why preparation for that interview, knowing exactly what you're going to do and having an agenda is so important.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So I think if my team has any more questions, it'll be good to have them. All right. So what are common reasons for B1 visa rejections and how can applicants avoid these pitfalls?
The common reasons is not being prepared with an agenda or a standard reason for your travel to the United States. A lot of Indian applicants in particular would just say, I'm going for a knowledge transfer and I will be going for 3 months. That is a common reason for refusal, because when you say something like knowledge transfer, it's very generic. I don't understand what you're doing. When I ask you for more details, you're not able to fully explain because maybe somebody has not communicated that to you, and then you're giving me a time frame that sounds like you will be doing productive work rather than a general knowledge transfer, which in my eyes a knowledge transfer is I have this knowledge within the company, I need to pass this knowledge along, which is a training, which is totally fine, but be specific. How long is the training? How many people are you going to train? So general reasons for going on a B visa coupled with too long of length of stay are very common for B1 visa rejections. Not being prepared, not having an agenda, not being able to maybe discuss your job role appropriately, never having traveled before, and now all of a sudden you're traveling. Maybe your position isn't a position that would normally go to a conference, but you're not able to explain why you were selected. Maybe there's a really good reason for that. So people's inability to truly convince the consular officer of their intended activities is a common reason for visa rejection. And then sometimes because they have weaker ties, so say somebody does have a knowledge transfer, they are technical, but maybe they're not established in their home country, and so and their salary is low. So it goes back to weaker ties in the home country. So maybe the consular officer does believe that they're going to go to the United States for a good business related reason, but because of their weaker ties, they are not able to convince the consular officer that they qualify on that first B1, B2 parameter.
Typical interview time, just like in minutes or hours?
Yeah, so for B1, I usually took like 2 minutes because it's sometimes it can get pretty complicated in terms of their ties as well as their intended activities. But you know that interviews can go as fast as 30 seconds and probably no more than 3 minutes. But I spent a little bit of time with my B1 applicants to try to understand.
Okay, and if it is rejected, can the applicant come back in a few days to reapply for the same B1 purpose?
You could always reapply, there's no cap on that.
No limit to that, as many times as possible?
As much as
Okay.
much money as you want to give the State Department, I guess.
Mhm. All right, all right. So, folks, you can always try many times. And why many B1 applicants post on the internet that the officer never asked me anything and just rejected. Why so?
Yeah, so it could be a plethora of reasons that we already discussed. Yeah, so it could be that that they didn't find you qualified under the first parameter of B1, B2. If they're just really quickly saying no, it could be that the officer does not feel like you had enough ties. They're just judging you very quickly based on your age or your income, and that could be a reason for a very quick refusal.
Okay, interesting. Do we have any questions from our team? Well, is it possible someone can ask for a translator for B1 visa apart from English?
Okay, it is. However, say for example, you are a trader and you want to go to a trading conference to try to sell people your goods and services in India, or try to meet other people and buy their goods and services, and you need a translator. Or you're a mid-level person and you're going to a conference, or you're claiming that you're going for a training in the United States. It's kind of like the F1 visa where you need English to be able to do all of these things. So an older applicant going for a B1, B2 to go visit their son or daughter doesn't need to speak English. But if you're saying that you're a professional trying to do professional things in the United States, it's going to be
Mhm.
difficult to convince the consular officer of that.
Okay, all right. Well, can rich business persons can they apply for helpers?
They can, but again, you're going to have to prove that the intended activities are in line with what that person needs. So it's kind of a vague question.
Okay, so more details on that.
So
So
there, if they're talking about
it's
domestic
actually
helpers, that's a totally
Mhm.
different set of criteria
Okay.
that we're not discussing here. But if they're like bringing their accountant, like or something.
Okay. Actually, this one came up in your channel, the Udeti YouTube channel, you know. So the question was like, yes. warm PO? Do US embassy really check background, job, etc.? Because so many people lied and got approved, got away with it even.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people lie at the visa window and get away with it, and a lot of people lie at the visa window and don't get away with it. So that's the nature of this interview. And so there is very limited things that a consular officer can do to check background. However, they're going to rely heavily on information you're giving them. And so
Hmm.
there are ways to quickly check. For example, if you're going for a conference, to find out if that conference actually exists, but they're just
Okay.
going to look at you as a whole and adjudicate you that way. But yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of people who get away with things.
Okay, and there is Vijay Kumar in YouTube asking, ma'am, what if it's more than 20 years old refusal not mentioned in DS 160? Please answer.
Yeah, that's a really good question because I don't think our system goes back 20 years. So you might be able to get away with not mentioning that you've had a prior refusal. With that being said, having such an old refusal shouldn't impact you too much. So that's an interesting question.
Thank you, Vijay Kumar, for that question. And folks out there, it's almost time for a break now. We're almost half the session, and this is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. We've already had an incredible, insightful conversation so far with our special guest, Yvette Bansal, ex-US Consular Visa Officer, and friends sharing her wealth and knowledge on visa and immigration today. We are going to talk even further with her under the topic B1 visas and delve deep into our discussion. So we'll just take a short breather. Stay tuned. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Yvette. Don't go anywhere, folks. This is Nipasa Pradhan.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833 412 8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com. Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833 412 8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
And we're back. Thank you for staying with us on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Folks, I am Nipasa Pradhan, and I hope you enjoyed that short break, maybe got a coffee, and well, also the conversation with our guest today, none other than Yvette Bansal, ex-US Consular Officer. And, let's jump back right into our conversation with our guest today. So, Yvette, thank you so much. Uh, you know, today, I hope you're having a good time so far with us.
Always.
And we are discussing about B1 visas and how to get it approved. And this is basically a masterclass and a little training, maybe. So be with us. And if you have any questions to Yvette directly, you can ask her, you can email her also, and visit her website also. So here are the details on the screen. Yes. YB at udetivisa.com, udetivisa.com. And that's her website as well. Go visit the website and you can even call her, get in touch with her in her number 630-303-6165. Yvette Bansal, former US Consular Officer for you. All right, Yvette, let's move on to the questions now. This first one right now I have is from Ankit Tyagi, our viewers on YouTube. Would this have negative impact to stay in the grace period while being on L1B in USA after being let go by the employer?
Not a B1 question, so sorry, Ankit. Sorry, Ankit.
Save
We're
it
gonna
for
stick
some
to
other
B1
time,
questions.
Ankit.
We have
Yes,
to stay the course. Yeah, maybe we'll do an L1B.
session for sure. For sure, we'll keep that for later. All right, so let's move on to the questions I got. Okay, this is from in Facebook by N Malik. Can someone get visa rejection notes or remarks of visa officer that consular officer made in their system? FOIA can be made.
A FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act, can that be implemented to get that information? Yes, it can be. Talk to a immigration lawyer that specializes in FOIA for information on how that can be done.
Hmm. Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. That's right. All right, so let's move on to another question then. This one is from Fatum Hajara on YouTube. If we can work while B1, B2 is on pending approval or part time. Also, is there any time duration until which you could stay in US with an approval pending B1, B2 visa?
Unfortunately, Fatma, that question does not quite make very much sense to me. I'm not sure
Okay.
what you're trying to ask, so unfortunately, I cannot answer it. Sorry.
Okay, Fatima, if you're still here, could you give us more clarity to your question? We're still here for some time. Let's move on to the next question. This is from Madhur Shah. It is about B1 visa, if you could answer. My parents have a B1 visa expiring this May, and they are planning a trip to the US in this February.
So, I mean, if just generally speaking, and you need a valid visa and for the duration of the time that you're going to be in the United States. So, if it's crossing over to the expiration and when they want to travel, they'll need to apply for a make sure they apply for an interview waiver. They probably qualify for an interview waiver if they already have a B1, B2.
Okay, there's a follow-up saying, will there be any problem at port of entry and will they still get 6 months stay by CBP? I don't think so.
The your visa should be valid for the duration of stay in the United States.
And it's expiring in May, so maybe not all 6 months then.
Correct, yes.
All right, so that's the answer for you, Mathur. Thank you for your question. I hope it's clear. And let's move on now. Glenn Silver is asking, I have been refused B1, B2 visa for tourism. Although I have been to US before with J visa, the consular officer said that I need to travel to outside Asia and use Japan visa that I had on my passport.
Glenn, ask me a question because this is a statement. So let me know what question you have. I mean, I have thoughts about your comment, but I don't know if it's what you want to hear. So just rewrite us a question and I'll be happy to answer it.
Okay, there you go. Do you think if I travel abroad more and work for almost 2 years, I have a better chance? Because I had my father as my sponsor at that time. Will the next officer affect will be affected by my by previous refusal note?
Not a bad question. Travel, any travel that you do is going to look like you have better financial means to support yourself. So if you had a visa for Japan but you never went, that's probably why the consular officer said, "Why haven't you gone to Japan? Are you just collecting visas?" So if you do have more travel and you're more established and you try again, the prior refusal always will be there. So it will always have some impact, but you will be in a better position if you're traveling well and establishing yourself and doing the right things the next time you go to the visa window. It should be better.
All right. Thank you for answering that. And let's move on to another question. This one is from Naziria. I got laid off and I'm thinking of transferring to B1 visa. What are the current wait times, and would it be okay to go to India for a month while it's processing and then re-enter on B1?
So I have missing information. It sounds like you're already in the United States and you're thinking, I'm missing information and cannot
Yes.
answer this question. Sorry. You need to
More
clarify. Please
clarity in the
clarify
timeline.
yeah, more clarity.
Nazria, please clarify your
Change of
question.
status.
And
Yeah, she's thinking of doing applying for a B1 change of status. So thinking of a change of status to a B1, B2, what are the current wait times? It is okay. This is not a question that I can fully answer in this forum, unfortunately. Yeah, from an
okay, so
H1B. Okay.
probably is applying for B1 from
From an
H1B.
H1B. Yes, it's a little bit complex
Maybe.
to be, and I don't want to give you the wrong advice on this forum. So
Yes, we will need a more clarified question for that. But well, we'll just go for another short break before we end our session today. And folks out there, you can directly email Yvette, yb@udetivisa.com, and even her website, udetivisa.com, or call her in the number 630-303-6165. That is Yvette Bansal for you, former US Consular Officer. And don't go anywhere. We'll just go for a short break and be back soon after. On Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, this is Nipasa Pradhan. Hello and welcome back, everyone, back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan, and today we have our guest, Yvette Bansal, ex-US Visa Consular Officer, and very excited to have you back. We are having discussions on B1 visa today, and basically a masterclass on how you can get it approved and get ready for your B1 visa interview as well. So, yes, sir. Let's move on to more questions before we end today's session. And this one is from Faisal Mir. I have ongoing immigration I-130. Can I apply for visitor visa to meet my parents who are US citizens, by the way? I am a resident of Dubai.
yes, people with ongoing immigration petitions can apply for a B1, B2 visa.
Family ties. I am not taking my wife and son. It's just short trip to meet parents, stable job back in Dubai. I am the sponsor of my wife and son here in Dubai.
It really depends on your profile whether or not an I-130 is going to affect you at the visa window. If you have complete stability and financial backing and do well at the visa interview, then generally it shouldn't be an issue, but that's just generally speaking. Hmm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking that up. Now, this next one is from Marcel. My company is temporarily moving me to Canada as my H1B expires and while my perm is pending. I want to visit USA to meet my wife. Can I apply for B1 or B2 visa from Canada?
My company is temporarily moving to Canada as my H-1B is expiring while my perm is pending, and I want to visit. Yes, you can apply for a B1, B2 from Canada.
Okay, go for it, Masil. Now let's move on to the next one. This is from Kavya. I got laid off and thinking of transferring to B1 visa. What is the current wait time, and would it be okay to go to India for a month while it's processing and re-enter on B1, that is?
So changing of status is not something I'm comfortable discussing in
Mhm.
this forum. So I'm not going to advise on changing of status. So that's my answer for people talking about changing of status, re-entering the country. That is a longer conversation. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Surely, friends out there, if I mean, you can directly message or email Yvette with more details about yourself, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
be good, for sure. Let's go on with the
Sure.
next one then for now. This is from Wom Pio. Why my friend who parents stay illegally stay in the US can get their visa. He did not mention on the DS that he have parents there because it's what the agent told them to not mention if they have them.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you have a friend who illegally entered the United States based on a false premise. It happens, but definitely not something that I would recommend people to do, but it happens. So
Mhm.
sometimes people listen to Asians and are able to game the system. So that's seems like what has occurred in this situation.
Luck was on their side. Let's move on to the next question. Two more. I think you can be with us. Yeah, this one is from Andre. How can you ensure that B1, B2 visa applicants' intentions are purely for business or tourism and not for the purpose of immigration or overstaying in the USA?
The best way to answer that question is the interview process is not perfect when it comes to the United States because it's contingent upon a verbal interview. However, when you adjudicate 40,000 visas in a specific country, you start to see profiles and you start to understand what to look for when you ask applicants question. And so although it's not perfect, you as a consular officer are trained to basically you're trained in the law, how to apply the law, and also you're trained based on the experience that you have. So you take in all of the adjudications that came before and you apply that to the applicant in front of you. And that's the best way that the consular officer is able to determine. And that's why adjudication refusal rates are high is it's because if the person doesn't do very well at the window, they're more likely to get rejected, even though they're genuine, because the law is you're guilty until you prove otherwise. So the way that they try to counter that is they set the bar really high. That's another thing that is going on at the visa adjudication level. So that's the best way I can answer that question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that and taking that up. And
Hmm.
I think we'll just go with one more question before we wrap up today's session. Is that fine, Yvette?
Yeah, sure. Hmm.
All right. We already have it on the screen from Raja Ahmed on YouTube. We are five family members. We have our maternal grandmother and aunt in the USA. And do we have a follow-up from Raja Ahmed? We are applying B1, B2 as family. Our maternal grandmother and aunt lives in US, and we have mentioned in our mother's DS 160 about blood relatives. And there's another one saying, should we tell the reason as we are going to see our grandmother?
The short answer is yes, you have a valid reason for going to the United States. Some people hide the fact that they have close members to the United States, and sometimes that actually works against them because the consular officer uses common sense to adjudicate your case. So if you're a family of five that's never traveled outside of India, all of a sudden you're going to Nebraska or Tennessee, and you're going to try to convince the consular officer that this is just the place you decided to go. They use common sense. They're like, okay, they're going to Fort Worth, Texas. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So sometimes applicants will try to hide information that would otherwise have helped them. So it's not so clear cut, but just kind of look at it from that perspective. So the short answer is yes, you should mention the grandmother because it will probably strengthen your application.
All right, Raja Ahmed. All the best for that. Yes. And
Hmm.
I think we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you so much, Yvette, for that. And absolutely was such a great session with you. I would say a very insightful episode on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And Yvette, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the viewers. I specialize in visa interview preparation, adjudication, refusal rates are quite high. Please reach out to me or check out my website, udetivisa.com, if you need help preparing. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also have a blog with information in case you want to do some self-study. But thank you so much to our wonderful host, and I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Even our viewers you replied to, they already say thank you. Raja Ahmed says thanks with three hearts there. And we also have Wom Priyo saying thanks, Yvette. We truly appreciate your advice. So also thank you from our end, from Immigration and Jobs Talk Show and the whole team for to you, Yvette, for being here. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. I'm
Thanks.
already looking forward for another session with you.
Me too. Thank you.
And B2 for sure, I think. I hope the next one is going to be.
Yeah, tune in next week at the same time for B2. We'll talk more B2 because we had a lot of B2 questions today. And if there's any lingering B1 questions, maybe we can cover them next week.
There you go, friends. Next week, then we are sure going to be here Friday, 2 p.m. EDT. Thank you, Yvette. You have a great day. And
Thank
viewers
you.
out there, you can definitely mail me as well at nipa@higherightpeople.com. Also, there is my number flashed on the screen. Note it down. You can even WhatsApp me there. Call me on the number 408-335-6444. And it's a wrap for today's session, friends, here. Thank you so much for joining. Really a pleasure. And for folks out there whose questions we couldn't take up today, stay with us. We'll try to post answers to your questions, or just like Yvette said, she'll be very happy to take them up next week. So tune in again. Okay. Thank you so much to our special guests once again, Yvette Bansal. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Your support means a lot. So don't forget to join us in our next episode. And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, share, subscribe, and follow us here on YouTube, on Facebook, and even on LinkedIn. So bye bye for now. You have a very happy, fun Friday and a happy weekend as well. It's Nipasa Pradhan saying bye for now. Bye bye.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833-412-8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.